Hoppers is currently one of the highest rated Pixar movies of all time. And maybe that's because a lot of people that get approved to be Rotten Tomatoes critics these days are actual children, but I am one of these critics that got to see Hoppers a little bit early, and I don't think it's this great original Pixar movie that is going to save the studio. And honestly, I don't even think it's that good. I do think people will enjoy this. I want this movie to succeed in the sense that it is an original movie from Pixar. And it's not like this studio is hanging on by a thread right now. Toy Story 5 is going to make $1 billion when the summer rolls around. And yeah, I know a 29-year-old man is not the target audience for a Pixar Beaver movie, but there are a lot of 29-year-old dads out there that are considering taking their kids to go see this movie. And I'm speaking to that individual. And if you're going to go and shell out like $85 to take your family of 4 to the movies, I want to be the one honest person on the internet here and talk about why this isn't like every year we do this, where an original Pixar movie comes out and every critic online is like, this is the best movie Pixar's made in years. But maybe that's because Pixar hasn't really made that many good movies over the past few years. I want this studio to succeed so badly. They have delivered for families for decades at this point. So many great movies, so many classic animated films, and I'm waiting for that Pixar to arrive. We've had hints of that, like Soul was a great movie. They've made some pretty good ones like Elemental and Turning Red. Even Inside Out 2, it's a sequel, but it was at least good. And everything else has just kind of been forgettable, to say the least. Like, even if it hasn't necessarily been bad, it's been boring. And in a lot of ways, I think that is worse than being bad. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this movie is good enough to get them to the height at which they need to be again. So let's just dive into it. What is Hoppers? The story follows this young, smart, rebellious girl who for some reason is riding a skateboard in 2026, and she discovers that her professor has made this technology that can transfer your mind from your own body to a robotic animal. They make a joke in the movie that they are essentially ripping off Avatar, and the movie pretty much plays out like how an Avatar movie would. The only difference is that the fake beaver is not having an intimate relationship with the real beaver, so parents, you are clear in that regard. And then the rest of the story just takes off from there and becomes a very basic family movie. And I think that's the problem, that this entire film just feels so basic and so bare bones. I don't want to give you the impression that I think this is the worst thing Pixar has ever made, because I don't. That's The Good Dinosaur. And Hoppers, like the movie I saw, feels like it was a solid first draft. And you watch it and you're like, okay, like we're just getting started here. But when you realize it's the final draft of the movie, it feels like that Brendan Fraser from The Whale meme where he just looks at you like, please, for the love of God, just spend your money on our movie. It's like they're sick in the head when you even suggest that this could possibly be the final, like, fully baked thing, because it just feels kind of empty by the end of it. But I do think there are some positives about the movie that I'll start with right off the bat. I think the humor is some of the best Pixar's had in quite some time. That being said, I didn't even chuckle the first like 45, 50 minutes of the movie. Like, it was truly terrible. And there were like 1 or 2 people in my theater laughing hysterically at the beginning, but everyone else was kind of just sitting there in silence. But then there is this bit that happens. It happens right in the middle of the film, and the thing that happens actually sets up the events of like what's gonna happen in the rest of the movie. And I won't spoil that for you because I genuinely think it's hilarious. It's one of the best, funniest jokes I've seen in a kid's movie, possibly ever. Like, I really truly believe it's that strong of a joke, and I don't really say that about a lot of modern movies. And I think it's jokes like that that make all these other critics say that the film itself is fantastic. And I just don't feel that way. But I could see if you found everything else funny in the movie. Like, besides that one joke, there are a few parts in the second half of the film that got a chuckle out of me. But I think if you're someone that finds this entire movie funny, then yeah, I could see why it's one of your favorite Pixar movies in recent memory. I think it's going to make both adults and kids laugh. I think that's important when it comes to making a family movie. And they just have these hints of that Pixar creativity that really made the studio famous in the first place, and I appreciate that. Like most of the other films from this studio, I think the voice acting is really solid. Everyone does like a pretty good job, but I think the standout for me was actually Dave Franco. He has a small part to play in the grand scheme of the movie, but when he does show up, he's hilarious. Like, he absolutely steals the scenes that he's in. And even though it sounds like Dave Franco, it just perfectly fits what they're doing with the movie. So I thought that was great casting. I thought he did an excellent job. The message is simple. The message is good. The message is absolutely shoved down your throat from the second the film begins. But it's a good message, and kids should probably go in and be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't burn the forest down. I think that's a good message to have for a family film, and I could get behind that. At the end of the day, I don't think these family movies should be subtle. I don't think you should be trying to search for the message like this is an A24 movie. And I'm going to start getting into the negatives here because I don't want to come across like this is a terrible movie. I do want to come across to the point that I think this is just fine. I don't think it gets to the solid, it's good level of filmmaking here. And when you look at it, like, it feels like it's well made enough, but it just feels like this empty, boring vessel. And listen, as unfair as it is, Pixar has kind of set a standard that is almost unattainable again at this point, but it shouldn't be. Like I mentioned how that late 90s and late 2000s era where you had stuff like Toy Story 1 and 2, you had Monsters Inc., you had Finding Nemo, WALL-E, Ratatouille. These are all certified bangers. This team were the undeniable kings and queens of the industry. Like there was nobody doing it like Pixar. So when that is the top of the bar and the bottom is stuff like Onward, like, yeah, I think this is slightly worse than Onward. I forgot Onward was a movie until right now. And a lot of people are pushing this, almost like there's an agenda that this movie has to be good because it's an original movie. And I, for one, am a big supporter of original movies. But don't get it twisted. Just because something is original does not mean it is good. I don't know why they're putting the better artists and writers and directors on Toy Story 5 and Inside Out 2 versus the original Pixar stuff right now. It doesn't really make sense to me. It's almost like the objective is to make the sequels and the prequels and all that kind of stuff more good. I can't even talk properly because that's really what it feels like. It feels like they don't give a shit about the original stuff. Like they let new voices come in with their projects, and I think that's a good thing. I think you should roll the dice on creatives. But I also think your best people in the studio should be working on that good original shit. I know I'm cursing in a video about a children's movie, but like I said, this is for the parents out there. If you're a kid, go watch the movie. You're gonna laugh. But you can't make sequels if nobody cares about or sees the original IP. You just can't. And ironically, I do think there will be a good amount of people that go see Hoppers. It seems like it's getting a lot of hype online. The lizard thing became a meme and people are interested in the movie because of that. And there probably will be some people that want to see Hoppers too. And I know it feels like right now in this time of history, we are living in hell. But I think if they announce Hoppers 2 as the next project Pixar is working on, it will be confirmed this is hell on earth that we're living in. And a big fundamental thing that is missing from Hoppers that a lot of the Pixar movies actually nail is that I just don't feel any emotion while watching this movie. And it feels like you should be feeling something. In the first 5 minutes, they literally show off this new character that's a grandma, and you're like, oh my God, here we go again. Like, I can't believe we're gonna play into this trope one more time. But here's the thing, a lot of these other Pixar movies will play into that same trope over and over again, but the emotion is still there. A lot of people didn't like Elio. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was solid. Like, I understand why it's not one of the more popular Pixar movies, but that movie made me feel something. And even movies like Onward or Lightyear, like Hoppers is in that category of Pixar for me. But even those two movies made me feel something at certain parts of the film. And I don't even think Hoppers came close to making me shed a tear, like one single time. I didn't even think about it. And for a Pixar movie to be lacking in that, I think that's kind of a problem. The main character, Mabel, is a fine, passable protagonist, but I had to Google what is the main character's name in Hoppers before writing this review because I couldn't remember it for the life of me. I think that kind of sums up not just her character, but a lot of the characters in this movie. Most of the side characters are kind of boring. I like the Beaver King a little bit, but it's not like he's a notable character. And I know the objective is to sell toys. I'm sure they will be selling some plushies for Hoppers, but come on, we're not going to be selling Buzz Lightyear types of numbers in this one, okay? And every other side character besides the villain gets like no character development at all. And not even just character development where they like change the character. They just don't get scenes or moments in general. The bear gets like 3 or 4 jokes. The lizard yells like 5 or 6 times, and that's it. You get nothing else from the lizard. And one thing that actually surprised me about Hoppers more than any other con I had was this was the first time I started to feel a little bit tired from the Pixar animation. And even in a lot of their other movies, like Onward kind of I'm talking about Onward a lot, but that was the last time I thought about where I was like, man, like the animation just doesn't feel impressive anymore. And Elio had moments like that where it wasn't the most stunning animation ever, but there were still moments in Elio where I watched it on a big screen and I was like, holy shit, that looks really good. And I never once felt that while watching Hoppers. And Pixar used to be like the game changers when it came to animation. And maybe they're not necessarily like staying the same. They're either staying the same or taking a step back. With this, they are not taking a step forward and making the animation look that much better. And if somebody that works at Pixar comments and says, yeah, we actually did this, this, and this to make the animation look better, I believe you. It's just not showing up on screen. I know in Pixar, they have this formula of how they make every movie. They have the set standard of what every movie is going to be like. And a formula gets tiring after a while. And ironically, I don't think they need to find a new formula. I just think you have to build interesting things around the formula. It just feels like we are at a time where the new original Pixar movies are being made by Pixar fans, like people that grew up loving Pixar movies and want to make their own Pixar movie, instead of the directors being people that make good Pixar movies, if that makes sense. And that's nothing against the filmmakers that were picked to make Pixar movies. I think a lot of them are talented, and I think they're not terrible filmmakers. There's just clearly something missing. The ideas are not being fully baked here. And I think that's a problem. And I think that's gonna be a problem for Pixar if they don't fix it immediately. Like, I think Toy Story 5 genuinely looks like it could be pretty good. And I would love if Toy Story 5 was great. They got Andrew Stanton coming back. He made movies like WALL-E and Finding Nemo. Like, the guy knows what he's doing. And I think the ideas that Toy Story 5 is playing around with, even though they're a bit obvious for the modern standard, I think it can make a pretty good movie. But have those people make the original Pixar movies. Don't just put them on sequel duty, because Toy Story 5 is going to make a lot of money. All these sequels are probably going to make a good amount of money, but you're going to run out of sequels eventually. People are going to get tired of it, just like they got tired with the Marvel movies. You need original things to help keep the company afloat. And the people around the world in this country are struggling to stay afloat right now, for being honest. And they have a lot more cheap options, more than ever. You have social media, which is entirely free. You have video games, which there's a lot of free games where you just buy once and get hours of gameplay out of. And then people pay for streaming services, so they have options at home to watch things. And they have to make the choice of taking their family of 4 or 5 to the theater for like $80 to $120. That's a lot of money. And if Pixar wants that money in their pocket from the consumer, you need to make a better movie than this. You need to do better than Elio, which I liked. You need to do better than Onward. You need to do better than Lightyear. You need to put Turning Red and Soul in theaters when you make a movie that's pretty good. And I do think box office wise, like Hoppers is going to do better than a movie like Elio. It's got a cuter aesthetic to it. I could see it doing decent at the box office, even doing pretty good if the word of mouth is as strong as people say it is. I do think there will be a lot of people that enjoy it in terms of casual audience members. The critical praise and acclaim is kind of driving me insane. I don't think it's that great. And if you're a dad, like, yeah, your kids will probably enjoy this movie. You'll enjoy the movie too, I'm sure. But I don't think it's worth spending $80 to $100 on. I think you should wait at home and get the kids pizza with like 20 or 30 bucks and watch it at home, have a great family night in. I don't like saying you should wait to see something on Disney Plus, but we gotta live with the reality that times are tough right now. And I want to say you should go see this instead of Inside Out 2, but Inside Out 2 was a better movie, and that's a problem. There's nobody that wants less sequels and more original things than me. I promise you. But just because something is original doesn't make it better than the sequel. This is probably like a bottom 10 Pixar movie for me. Not probably. It's definitely a bottom 10 Pixar movie for me. Possibly a top 5 bottom Pixar movie for me. I'd really have to look at the list again. If I were rating it on a scale of 1 to 10, I think it's like a 5. I think it's totally fine. If you make over $100,000 a year, then yeah, please go support an original Pixar movie. Take your family, have a good time. But if you're a dad and you're sitting there and you're like, how the fuck am I going to pay the mortgage this month? I promise you right now, Hoppers is not worth betting your house on. And this is Chase. Thank you so much for watching as always. If you want to hear some more honest opinions about the world of movies, TV, entertainment, stuff like that, be sure to subscribe because I'm going to keep telling the truth.